Okay, Klarenberg, welcome to Uncensored.
Hey,
Thanks so much for being on today. I know we've been trying to schedule this for a while, and there's definitely several different things that I wanted to talk with you about today. The first of which is, again, this is Uncensored. This is a Rockfin exclusive show, and part of the reason that I started this show is because I was being censored on YouTube, and actually currently right now I'm in the middle of another YouTube ban or suspension where I'm not able to post for 1 week because I just had Jimmy Dore on and they deemed one of his answers to be medical disinformation. So just goes to show you, how bad censorship is getting. I often wonder some days, are my tweets being throttled on Twitter? You know, Obviously Facebook throttles everything that you post, and it's just getting very frustrating. And that's why I'm thankful of sites like Rockfin, like Rumble, like Odyssey. They seem to be good free speech platforms. And also too, it's kind of been in the headlines, this whole censorship issue this past week, because, and especially today, because Elon Musk has been talking about purchasing Twitter, which I think we all have kind of our issues with Elon Musk. But I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that in particular, is Elon Musk's story, and then just generally the censorship issue. Maybe if you've personally experienced any of this kind of censorship.
oh yeah, I mean, in terms of me suffering censorship, it'd be difficult to know where to start or finish. But I mean, in terms of Elon Musk, I mean, obviously he's not particularly sympathetic character. I'll put that. That's a charitable way of putting it. I mean, but I think that this is like a large distraction. I mean, already, for a very long time, almost since its inception, Twitter, in common with, all other mainstream social media platforms, has been, an elite protection racket. It's been a means of stifling free, open discussion and alternative viewpoints, not providing a platform for them. And so it's like, I wrote about this a number of years ago, but Twitter boasts on its as a senior staffer is part of 77th Brigade, which is a British psychological warfare unit, which specifically seeks to weaponize Twitter using, fake accounts, bots, trolls, in order to propound government messaging. And they were, very openly deployed during the pandemic to quote unquote battle misinformation, which would be criticism of the government. And then that is a senior staffer who is moonlighting in an organization that seeks to disrupt and exploit the platform which employs him for information warfare purposes. You see it with Facebook, where they have a threat intelligence division, which is staffed by former GCHQ and NSA and MI6 and CIA spies, and they work on battling disinformation, which is dissidents, alternative viewpoints, inconvenient facts. And so I mean, I just think that at this point we need to kind of get to grips with the fact that there is that they're kind of irredeemable. Like you're not going, when they're never going to serve the purpose which they claim to serve and which we want them to serve. And in fact, actually, if you are possessed of viewpoints which diverge from kind of mainstream mainstream dogma, then you are going to be sidelined, you're going to be shadow banned, you're going to be outright banned, you're going to be attacked by legions of accounts. And I mean, for instance, my own Twitter account, when people try and sometimes when people visit my profile, it appears that my account doesn't exist, like that they are presented with like a blank page. Sometimes when I post things and the content is not particularly incendiary, it'll get a lot of views, likes, and retweets. When it's something which is directly mentioning like MI6 and the CIA, which is the overwhelming bulk of my Twitter output, then about 3 people will see it, unless I kind of share it around privately. So I mean, I think that the remedy is, for all of this talk on how to reform social media. I mean, the one key way that you would reform social media, say Facebook and Twitter, would be to break them up, or to effectively nationalize them, pass their take their running out of private and indeed quasi-state hands. But that's never going to happen. And you see this with Frances Haugen, that kind of bogus Facebook whistleblower. Like, she was specifically asked whether Facebook should be broken up, and she said she didn't think so. And then actually what she was proposing was effective greater government control over Facebook to battle foreign enemies like China and Iran. So i.e. do what it does already, but with the state directly guiding it rather than just giving them recommendations and suggestions. So what we need to do is, anyone in the kind of independent alt media, irrespective of their politics, put ideological differences aside and just migrate en masse to something else, and just leave these platforms for dead and to as these effective blue check echo chambers, which is what they already are. I mean, it's quite drastic, but I think it's long overdue. And we see this with RT America, where RT America staff were all let go, and then it was only after they lost their jobs that they got Russian state media tags on their profiles,
because they're not even employed by that. The company doesn't exist anymore, so
doesn't exist. Yeah, it doesn't exist anymore, and it's just they're kind of marked for life in this kind of McCarthyite
Yeah, it's like a scarlet letter.
Yeah, there was that. His name escapes me, but it's just like that guy. There's an RT journalist who's now dead, whose profile got that label. Really tasteless stuff like that, and it is effectively a very subtle means of telling you that this person is a propagandist or some state agent or just dubious, and you just dismiss what they say. And it's like, the idea that this is ever going to get better, it's just going to get worse and worse. And it's like, we already have, in Germany and other European countries, legislation has been passed or is being considered to make it a crime to speak approvingly of the war in Ukraine. And it's like, I mean, it's a legitimate opinion. You might disagree with it. But placing someone in prison for that, I mean, that's genuine thought crime. But it's this is all of these developments are coming thick and fast without any pushback whatsoever. At all. Banning of the letter Z and stuff. It's really quite extraordinary.
Well, in the US, the way that this kind of evolved over time is that that first they started really coming after right-wing folks, people like Alex Jones, Nick Fuentes, and then that gradually kind of you saw with Russiagate them start going after and demonetizing and shadow banning more left-wing people. And I think that's really coming to a head now, where a lot of folks who are anti-imperialist left in particular, or anti-vax left or anti-mandate left, they're getting really attacked, and I think that's creating some awareness there. So the dynamic is a little interesting. I guess I'm curious, is it the same in Europe, where they started deplatforming right-wing voices first, and then more left-wing anti-imperialist voices, or and then also what has been the kind of the sentiment from the public? Because again, here I think among the right-wing, among the Republicans, there's a very keen understanding that these big tech platforms do censor folks, and that would be more sort of debatable, at least within the American left, the liberal sphere. Is it similar in Europe?
Yeah, and then I think it's an interesting phenomenon, isn't it, that they invariably, when when these people get kind of simultaneously deplatformed from all of these supposedly independent private businesses, these tech giants, that they always kind of go for the low-hanging fruit. They go for quite obviously unpleasant characters who no one's really going to mourn the loss of, say, like Milo Yiannopoulos, say, or in the UK, I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but Katie Hopkins, who's this vile racist scum who got permanently banned from Twitter, and then so but that stuff gets publicized, and then the fact that they are these heinous people gets cited as kind of proof that, oh well, this isn't censorship and it's not something to be that you should be frightened of, and it's something we should actually be supportive of, because these are bad people. But then when Facebook starts taking down accounts that document police brutality, or that are anti-war or anti-imperialist, this doesn't get any traction. And I thought there was a very interesting example of this in practice at the start of 2021, when Donald Trump got banned from Twitter. The head of the World Socialist website very much, was countering, any and all notion that this was censorship, and that it was in any way a kind of a slight on free speech. And then a few days later, he himself got deplatformed. And and was up in arms about it, as well he might be. And it's just like, they will come for you eventually. And what opinions are acceptable and what aren't, change very quickly. Like, in the wake of, kind of between Zelensky's election in 2019 and the start of the war in Ukraine in February this year, there was numerous reports on significant corruption by Zelensky and people within his inner circle. There was amnesty investigations which have since been removed from the web about like Ukrainian cities employing far right thugs to act as a private police force, and they go around like attacking LGBTQ people and destroying Roma refugee camps and stuff. And this is all this is kind of unsayable now. And then to mention any of this is to be a Kremlin shill, to be playing into Putin's hands, etc. So it's like overnight, what is acceptable narratives suddenly change very drastically.
Well, it kind of shoots themselves in the foot, though, doesn't it? I mean, if more people do understand that they're being censored, and it starts reaching the mainstream narrative, where you have people like Joe Rogan who are talking about on their show, or you have Elon Musk publicly saying I'm going to buy Twitter, and part of his reasoning is because he's standing up for free speech. Doesn't that kind of undermine the credibility of these networks?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think that. I thought that the Rogan dispute was very interesting, because quite clearly they were gearing up to get rid of him entirely. And he is someone who is enormously popular and has an enormous platform, and so obvious. And I think that even then, people who wouldn't necessarily don't necessarily agree with Rogan, or indeed think that he's, and think that he's a fool, thought that this was like a bit much. And you even see this as well with like the kind of the huge cancellations of anything and everything Russian, in the wake of the invasion, like Tchaikovsky performances getting shit canned, like after
Yuri Gagarin, I think something happened at like the Space Museum where they took down there was a university in Florida that and this is hilarious because he wasn't even Russian, but there was a university in Florida where they renamed the Karl Marx reading room because that's tangentially
Russia. Or like cocktails being renamed from Moscow Mule to Kiev Mule and stuff. I mean, it's just like, I think that like when that actually when this starts affecting people more widely, then there is a greater tendency to question it. But again, it's like, I mean, what does that achieve? Like, they just seem totally dedicated to this this strategy, this covert and overt strategy of silencing anyone with who is possessed of kind of problematic viewpoints, or is publishing information that powerful people don't want in the public domain.
To see this full 1-hour interview with Kit Klarenberg, please go to rockfin.com/PRIMO RADICAL and become a premium member.